I'll tell you what, Jake. If you want to drag up the average and bring him to Valor, then you have to admit that he's a legend for you. Then
Oh shit. Okay.
Welcome back to another video of Into the West podcast. This is another tier list video, and today we will be going over the tier list for Rohan. So we have with us Richard, Ian, and a special guest, and also one of our patrons, Jake. Welcome, Jake. So Jake is one of the local-ish players that we know that plays the most Rohan, or at least has the most experience with it. So we thought that he would be a great guest to help us discuss this faction. So let us know what your experience has been with the army and why it's one that you like playing so much.
Like a lot of people, Rohan is one of my favorite factions from the films. All of the characters and heroes from Rohan really strike a chord with me, whether it's Théoden or Éomer or Éowyn. Like I have a lot of connection to all of them from the films. So that was actually a big part of when I first got into the game. I wanted to play a faction that I felt very strongly about, like in connection to the movies. And so I chose Rohan. So that was the first one that I played. Took it to a few tournaments early on in my gaming career, so to speak. Played actually kind of an abnormal version at the time, where Théoden's Legion had just come out, like, or Gondor War had just come out, but I was actually playing with Éomer as the leader. And then I switched to a bunch of other stuff for a while, and then have recently been exploring Théoden's Legion again, Helm's Legion, and Théodred's as well. So more recently have been experimenting with some of the like mixed arms, foot Rohan as well, uh, but kind of have a wide variety of all of them.
Yeah, Ian's making all those faces because he's our resident Foot Rohan player. So I'm sure he'll have something to say about that. Previously, we did a video, hardest to play armies, and Rohan was one of the picks. And, it's one of the oldest factions. It's been around since 2002. And I still see that a lot of people who get into the game are drawn to it due to similar reason as Jake, where they're huge fans of it for lore reasons, but find it difficult to play once they pick it up. I'm excited to kind of rank all of these profiles to see, you know, kind of where they all end up.
Throwing spears OP. That's it.
Before we get started, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for the video, Baron of Dice. They make some awesome dice for miniature wargaming, including MESBG. Check them out on their website in the link below. And also want to mention that we have a Patreon promotion coming up. After a month of joining, all patrons will receive a set of dice. More details in the link below. I also want to quickly thank our patrons over on Patreon for supporting us. If you're interested in extra content as well as seeing videos early, as well as list reviews, please check out our Patreon in the link below. We'll also be touching up on the Wildman of Druidan near the end. So if you are a patron, stick around and check out that as well at the end. To kick off, we have King Théoden. Rest in peace. What do we think of this profile?
well, funny thing is that what Jake said in the intro, he's pretty essential in a lot of Rohan lists because of his bonuses. And so the first time I played Jake in a tournament, he rocked up with Éomer. I did not know what to think because at that time, I don't think anyone was running any Rohan Legion or Riders of Théoden like without this guy.
I'll tell you why I chose Éomer as the leader in that first army. I've changed my mind somewhat since then, but I think it's still somewhat stands. Uh, Théoden's fragile. Like he has two wounds and one fate. If you have double ring wraiths, like two black darts, like he can go down very easily. And the thing that had me worried back then was uh, basically the entire army depends on him. The bodyguard from the for the Royal Guard plus the added fight value. And so my thought was Éomer is a lot more tanky, so at least you are going to stick around more for the bodyguard. So that was my reason why I was like a little hesitant on him. That being said, he is pretty critical to the army. And so I'd say walk that back a little bit because he doesn't need to be like your primary damage dealer, so you can keep him pretty safe. Um, but he is at the end of the day still like kind of vulnerable.
He's kind of just there to buff the army, honestly, is my view on him. If he has to be your leader, right? Like he's got the strength buff, which is like part of the army for Cav, but also he brings in the fight value thing to trigger on the Royal Guard, the riders, and the captains, which is huge to make it like viable when you're charging in. And then in addition to that, he also has the 12-inch standfast. He's the only hero of legend in the list, so he automatically has to be the leader if you have like a bunch of Royal Guard around. I don't think he's really there to like go and fight things. Like, yeah, he has heroic strike, but that's more just like a backup or like a last case scenario thing. Like he's happy just to maybe call heroic march if you need it, and then munch a troop or two, or just hang out at the back. Like you don't need him to be doing the fighting. He's valuable just existing.
Yeah, yeah, you can go most of the game or all of the game without him being really in combat, and you'll get your points worth. You let his buffs do the work. And one thing that hasn't been mentioned is that I believe you need him to trigger death in the Legion. So that's like another buff you get from him, right? And yeah, and Ian briefly brought up Heroic March. I think for heroes of legend that are like your main centerpiece, it's rare that they'll have March. Where at lower points, it's extremely valuable because you might not have the points to take a captain. So March is something that a lot of lists just has to give up, and you get it on your main hero, and you don't have to pay that captain tax and worry about taking him if a captain doesn't fit at like a points level that you're trying to build.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's a
that's
great
a really
call
good
out.
point. It is just there's very few profiles that have like a strike and march. Yeah, the value of leading 18 guys and bringing those two heroics is pretty good.
Yeah.
I, I also would say that the current meta in like the current fight value arms race that is happening, having the fight value bonus on all the guys is even more crucial. I think, you look back 4 years or so, I feel like there was more fight four just kind of floating around, and now fight five is pretty prevalent.
Okay, I'm gonna start, and I can't tell where you guys would put him. So I'm just gonna go for it. I'm going to say he's probably at the top of Valor because I think that he brings a lot to the list. You don't need him in order to write a good list, but he has a lot going for him, and he does make your warriors a lot better. So I can see why he's such a common pick.
If you're gonna go the Cav route, like unless you're doing a Sons of Arrow kind of thing, I think yeah, he's a must take. Yeah, the weaknesses to the like ring rates and like Legolas and stuff have been mentioned, but I don't know. I think he's probably like up there in Valor, maybe bottom of Legend for me, just because like it's so important for like half the builds or the most popular builds you want to do with this list.
I feel like he's easy valor. And yeah, like it's like right on the cusp for me between the two. I could go either way.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think Valor is a good spot. If he had more options of being in lists like where he's not the leader, I think it would help a lot. So I'm just thinking of like alliance options. Like Gondor is probably a bit too expensive with like Elisar, but I think he might be a little bit underused with like fiefdoms and stuff, or like Lothlorien. I know Théodred is so common, we'll get to him, but yeah, like you guys said, he's kind of, a bit understated if you want to bring like a bigger Rohan contingent with like a heavy cav contingent.
All right. Next, we have Éomer. We've I just want to bring up we've used him in previous examples on the podcast of a model that's somewhat maybe overrated. And I know that Jake started off the podcast saying that, he thinks he's a better leader. So we might have a little bit of disagreement here.
I would say I used to think he was a better leader. Now I would walk back that opinion a little bit. I don't think he's a better leader just because of how much Théoden does for the list, and Théoden unlocks the Riders of Théoden Legendary Legion, which is so good. That being said, I mean, he is 3 attacks, 3 wounds, 3 might, 3 will, 3 fate. He is a tank, but also a beat stick. Strength 5 on the charge. Yes, he's fight 5, but he's got strike.
Beefy.
If you take Gamling, that's technically unlimited strikes.
You didn't
He,
say that for Théoden. Unlimited strikes.
yeah, but we already talked about you don't want Théoden to be fighting. Everybody loves Shagrat. He's basically Shagrat with a horse.
We don't blame you for changing your opinion on him because, like you said, there's been a fight 5 creep, right? Like a fight value creep over time. So yeah, fight 5 years ago when you used them is probably not as weak as fight 5 now. Like a hero with fight 5 now is just considered average, but back then I would say fight 5 would still be slightly above average.
Yeah.
The issue is that fight 5 at this like points level, right? He's a bit more expensive than all the other Rohan heroes, which a lot of them also get fight 5. I think he's probably the profile that we hear people online complain about the most about their fight value. Give Éomer fight 6. You hear that so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, I do get it. He's probably one of the bigger beat sticks in like regular Rohan, if we're not talking about the historic heroes. But I don't know. I think when it comes to value, I actually find him probably the one of the lesser efficient stat wise. So I don't know. Jake, you can tell me how wrong I am, but I would put him in fortitude.
Oh no. No. I think he's solidly in valor. That is my thought. I like I said, I really appreciate a hero that can tank. And I do think that in this list, in the Rohan list in general, he feels like it's his own niche. There are no other heroes that are both a combo, like can kill and tank, aside from, like you said, some of the like historical ones.
Well, yeah, he is the only 333 like heroic stats here that Rohan has. And like you said, there's something to be said for having 3 wounds, 3 fate, defense 7. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I think he just kind of gets overshadowed by other things in the list. He does hit really hard, but Théodred hits harder because he rerolls wounds.
But Théodred can't be in the Legion.
That's true. But you end up with like, and like you said, he can tank, but you also have like, I mean, Gamling has heroic defense. You don't necessarily want to throw him into things to tank, but he can. But you also have like Elfhelm who can tank things, and they're a lot cheaper. And you can also take Dernhelm if you want another 3 attack hero or Déorwine. Yeah, like uh,
I,
I don't know. There's the raw stats of Éomer are good. I just don't know if they're good enough that to overshadow like what the other heroes can bring.
I think the way I think about it is he's the only one that fills both roles at the same time, which I think puts him in a unique position because your opponent is both scared of him, but also can't take care of him very easily. And so, like, Dernhelm, like, can die to a stiff breeze. Déorwine, like, doesn't hit super hard. Gamling, you can just avoid because he's fight 4. Like, all of them have a downside. And while, yes, Éomer also does not have fight 6, uh, I think he just provides a combo of both defense and offense in one package that makes your opponent have to play around him and think about things.
Like I said, we're probably gonna disagree on this one. I can see that the role that he plays, like it's valuable to have a hero with well-rounded stats, especially if you're playing the all-mounted list. It just for the points, there are better options. Like in the Legion, I'll probably take him at 800 points. And you can argue, yeah, he's probably an auto-included Riders of Éomer if you want to play that. But if you're playing a regular list or an alliance, if you're doing a green alliance with fiefdoms for, I don't know, 25, 30 more points, you have Imrahil. And you just compare the stats. Imrahil has better stats and he has the huge buffs that Éomer doesn't have. So I think that he's like 10 or 15 points over, or he's lacking in some kind of special rule that gives him some kind of utility over than just tanking and fighting. I'd probably close to where Richard is putting him. I'd probably put him in Fortitude.
He's good for like their points. Like I disagree with you on that, Charles. Like I think he's fine for his like his points cost is fine. Like it doesn't need to change. Like if you compare him to other heroes that are around that 100 point mark, there's what? There's like Thorin who's kind of similar and he's got the fight six, but he can't take a horse. So sure, maybe Éomer should not be the same, but you know, he can take a horse, so he has to pay a little bit premium for that. The problem is you just like Charles did point out though, is that he's in this weird spot where he there's so many other things around him that are either lower and you can get some more models or that are more expensive, but they bring so much more to the table and he just kind of like falls to the wayside. I do agree it is nice like having like there's got to be points values where he slots in really nicely when you need somebody who can be a hitter and a tank, but it's not a very common thing. I haven't seen like a great level for him. I'd still probably put him in Valor, but like at the bottom of Valor.
I'll tell you what, Jake, since we got Ian's rating, we're fair, so we do this by averages. So if you want to drag up the average and bring him to Valor, then you have to admit that he's a legend for you. Then
Oh shit. Okay.
if you say he's a legend in your books, we'll respect it and we'll put him at the bottom of Valor.
I can't honestly say he's a legend in my books. I think he is solidly Valor, but he's not a legend.
Okay. We
I feel
always
sad because I'm worried that there's going to be no legend Rohan heroes.
no, I think there will be. And like we always say, we can move things around too.
Well, now that I think about it, since Ian gave him a Valor too, it's 2-2. We usually give the tiebreaker to the guest, right? So we'll put him at the bottom of Valor.
It's like a pity vote. I'll take it.
Okay. All right. Ian, I mean Théodred.
Put him up top. Get him up there.
See,
Get him up
I
there.
just said don't worry about not having anything a legend.
I it's
Hmm.
it's just too good. We got to figure out a way to make money off of this. It's just too good.
Awesome.
He's he's like a pure hitting hero. He gets rerolls to wound and three attacks, and you see him being allied in even outside the Legion. I think since they nerfed the Boromir and Aragorn combo, he's like the substitute for Elisar, where you do like a Boromir with banner and then him as the hitter in the list. So you see that in alliances. But he's relatively cheap too, so a great way to get in like some hitting power for pretty low points. And then in the Legion, obviously he's amazing. He gives the bodyguard to the whole army, and I don't know if he's that great of a leader, just because of he is kind of fragile, and also the charging rule. So that's his weakness, where he has to be the leader in the Legion, right?
Yeah, and the Legion, he has to be the leader, like you said, and he's kind of like Théoden in that regard, where he's, two wounds, D7, one fate. It's not the greatest defensive profile, but the difference between him and Théoden is he has to be charging in. So it kind of sucks in the Legion. That being said, you can still get good value out of him because he can confidently munch 2 to 4 troops a turn, like very easily. And that often enough is enough at the lower points values where you're going to be playing the Legion, where he has to be the leader.
Yeah, I played the Legion in a doubles event, and I was playing as Théodred, and holy cow, was it stressful to have this like fragile leader that so much of the army revolves around that wants to go and kill as much stuff as possible.
That's why I think that Legion probably only works like really, really well up to like maybe I would say 650, 700 maybe. But above that, like you're gonna be facing too much like magic and bigger leaders that can take advantage of you. But with that being said, like I don't know, I think he's an easy legend for me, just value wise, right? I like the bang for the buck, you know, heroes that just bring a lot. He's a hand grenade, right? Similar to like a Boromir of Gondor or like a Spider Queen. Like, yes, they might die in a couple of your games here and there, but in most of them, they're probably going to give you a lot of value.
He's a hand grenade that can ally in easily to a bunch of different lists and bring 7 point infantry, which is pretty great. It's a really easy way to boost your numbers.
Yeah, I'll eat my words. I think he's a legend.
Okay, well, there you go. We have a legend in Rohan. Next, we have Déorwine.
What are his heroic actions? Strike? Is that it?
Yeah, I think he's striking March.
I'm actually quite surprised then because I think the only times I've seen him is in Riders of Théoden. Maybe because you kind of have to use him as a combo piece with Théoden, but
Yes.
I would say
Also,
he's one of the top picks in that legion though.
he's got a pretty solid like captain level profile. He does have the fight five, so maybe slightly above that. And for the utility that you get with the potential free hero combats, I would say that you kind of pay for it with the points that he costs. He's like 85 mounted, so he's not cheap. He's still like quite a bit more than a captain, but you also have the heroic strike, so he can threaten heroes as well because of that.
How much is a captain of Rohan like kitted out?
45
60
base, so they go up to about 65, 70.
with that. I think it's 65 without the throwing spears, but like the full heavy armor and stuff and the horse.
Okay, yes, 65. Okay, wow,
Yeah.
that's really good. Because I was gonna say, I
And
was well, if you don't have Theoden, is 85 still worth it? But that's actually kind of expensive.
Well, no, if you don't have the hero combats, the potential for hero combats, then I don't think he's worth it because you're
Yeah.
paying for that.
I think he got worse because there was that nerf a while ago where it said if you have free hero combats that are tied to a hero, you have to do like everything you can to join them. So you have to like run out of the line. You can't just move a little bit closer to them. You have to like run back around and just try and get near them. So it's like it sounds a lot better than it is, and it's a lot harder to pull off those free hero combats unless you're out in like a wide open field.
And like super predictable too.
Yeah.
He's a hero that if he wasn't in Rohan, he would be so, so good. Like he would be like top tier, but in a list where like might, is everywhere, like free hero combats is kind of like, it's nice, but not
It
too crazy, right?
it's that and also March is everywhere too.
Yeah. It the joining hero combat thing actually doesn't come up that often. I mean, I took this Legion to a tournament a few years ago, and I think out of 5 games, it went off twice, once or twice. So you'll find that either there won't be room for Déorwine to join into that fight, or Déorwine's too far away and can't reach, or Déorwine loses his fight. So it sounds great, but like if you can pull it off once a game, I think that's already above average. And is it worth paying like the 10 points or whatever you're paying for that rule?
The problem with that too is he's 85 points, and I think Dernhelm is 80 with throwing spears.
Yep.
And the third attack, even though it's at a lesser strength value, that third attack is really big. Plus the fact that Mary combos with Gamling, but we'll get into that.
I want to put Déorwine in Fortitude. I Let me know if that's too low, but I think Fortitude still means like it's playable. It's decent.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, but with the caveat being that most of the lists that like I draft up for Riders of Theoden, like maybe under 700 points, I actually do take them in front of Éomer, but that might just be me, and only
Oh
in that
God, gut
particular
punch.
list. But
Yeah. I personally I would put him maybe equal as to Éomer too. It's bumped up because of our guest.
I yeah, I don't know. It's the weirdest thing because I think you said it well, Richard, is like in any other list, it feels like he should be way higher. And then here it's just like, eh, eh.
I think the two attacks can be pretty unreliable. If you fluff your rolls and then you lose your horse, well, it's just kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, next we have Gamling. A
Man,
lot of people have strong opinions about this guy.
uh, I mean, pre-nerf, it was awesome. Post-nerf, I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day. Is he really needed? Aside from like, because Riders of Théoden hit so hard and so fast. Like, from the idea is basically you break them in one turn or something.
Yeah.
And if you're hitting that hard, do you really need the sustain that comes from over the course of several turns with your heroes out of might that you get 1 point of might back?
So I know a lot of people still really like him. Personally, I don't rate him, and one of the reasons is what you just explained, where this is a legion that determines whether you're going to win or lose in 2 combats or 3 combats. You're not going to be around for him to generate more than like 2 points of might, maybe 3 points of might if you're lucky. It costs double of a normal banner.
Wow, seems like a shell of his former self.
The other reason that you could take him besides the might is that it's harder to lose your banner because it's on a hero with heroic defense. And for banner VPs, especially if you don't play the veto system, it can be really important. My opinion is that they slightly over nerfed it, maybe increase the banner to 6 inches or something along those lines, or make the might aura 6 inches. I just think that it's a little unnecessary now in the Legion. You can argue that it's pretty good in Defenders of Helm's Deep, but I don't think he's an auto take by any means.
He's definitely better in Defenders and Helm's Deep. I would say that you guys are arguing more for the banner, which, yeah, I understand. It went from like the best like war gear in the game to like now it's like, okay, it's playable. But Gamling himself though is a pretty like decently priced like might battery, right? So I think that's the reason why you still see him in Riders of Théoden. Like even if he's not the best hero in the list anymore, now he's just like, you still pick him up. It's not like you totally cast him aside.
I mean, yeah, he's basically a 3 might hero with March that is like kind of like throwaway might, like you're happy to use it. I will say this though, whether a model makes it into Riders of Théoden or not is not necessarily the best gauge because if you go high enough points, all of them make it in usually.
That's how we kind of determined where Déorwine was, right? Because in the Legion, I would think that he would be at least on par with where Éomer is, but we're talking about like overall in the game, which includes like peerless alliances and
Yeah.
things like that. So I think the same applies to Gamling. He's better in the Legions. Outside, you're not going to see him as much.
I I would agree with okay, I'd agree with that statement. I think, yeah, because outside of the legions, people don't really play pure Rohan. You're always doing alliances, and if you're doing that and you don't have a bunch of Rohan heroes around, it's harder to get value out of being able to regen the might. That being said, there's so many one might heroes in this list. You can still absolutely bring stuff along to make it work and have the infinite generation. The easiest one is Dernhelm because you just burn Mary's might and then now it's back. Yeah, it's you have to micro it a little bit more so he's following her around, but you always have that free heroic move from Mary. Also, I kind of disagree about not taking him in the Death Legendary Legion. While I agree it is that list is basically all about the first 2 rounds of combat, you're burning so much might to win the fight. Like most of your heroes that are charging in that list are going to be throwing 3 dice, right? Because 2 attacks plus 1 on the charge. You're going to be burning might to win fights to get the kills to make everything go off. So having the extra like regen from Gamling is actually quite helpful even after that first turn or that second turn because by the end of that second turn of the big charge, most of your heroes are going to be on like 1 or 0 might. So having a source to continuously call the heroic moves to keep you charging to finish it off is big.
That's a good point.
Also, his base profile at like 55 for like a March defense hero with 3 might, I like rate that a lot. And I haven't done it yet, but I've very much considered just throwing him into like a random like list, like a Lothlorien or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
the profile is solid. That's why I own the model with him without a banner. Maybe one day I'll use him. It sounds like Ian is probably going to be rating him the highest out of the four of us. I'm sitting at like a fortitude. What about you guys?
I'm gonna put him above Éomer.
I would have done probably fortitude above Déorwine. That's where I would put him.
I think I'm probably going to go in like the same place as Richard. So does that average him to just below Éomer then?
I think so.
But below Éomer in Valor or below Éomer in Fortitude?
I think he still goes in Valor.
Yeah, I'm fine with putting him in Valor.
Okay. Well, pre-nerf, he's here.
Pre-nerf, he's like up at the top because it was stupid. That was a deserved nerf. I think that was like it's in a good place right now. Don't change it anymore.
Pre-edition, he goes up here.
Oh yeah, when you had the Outwalkers just running around.
Next, we have Elfhelm, another one of the additions in Gondor at War. So this is the throwing spear guy.
I think he's super, super underrated. I've seen a lot of people discount him, maybe because of the Fight 4.
No Heroic Strike.
Yeah, but he's like pretty much like a mounted Rumil. Like you throw him into a big hero and he's just one of the best like tar pit heroes. Like Burning Might, you're probably going to take out the horse and then you just spend the next couple turns heroic defensing. He's just super consistent. And then if you're playing more like harass tactics, you already have a throwing spear line. You add this guy into it, he's kiting back like 5 inches and throwing a spear turn. Like, a lot of times you're converting to a kill. So he's nasty.
The tar pitting thing is nice on him because, like you said, if he does kill the opponent's horse or if he's charging like a hero on foot, it's nice because he's a credible threat still. Even if your opponent rolls super low and they're like, I don't really want to spend the might to boost up because like I need 6s to win. But he's like, yeah, but then I'm going to throw 6 dice at you. And there's a good chance I'll pip some wounds through. So he is an annoying tar pit in that way.
I just love the profile. I think it's so fun to have the option to like act as the tar pit, two, every now and then you really want to open up a lane or something, and having somebody that you can be like, he's actually like a pretty reliable shot at opening up a gap that then I can send another hero through, is pretty cool to have.
Yeah, I think for a hero that's 75 with a horse, I think I would take him more often than some of the ones we talked about here in terms of like a secondary hero. He's a pretty good might battery too. So, oh yeah, I'm gonna let one of you guys go first this time. I've been going first for the last few profiles.
Jake, where do you like him?
I think I would put him in Valor, maybe bottom, below Gamling. Yeah, that's where I'm going to land.
I think I'd put him in the same place. In Théodred's guard, the Legion, I think I'd put him top of Valor. He's like second take every time.
To be fair, there's not a lot of options there.
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's valid.
What I was going to ask, is that because Théodred's guard is so throwing spear heavy and like the accuracy matters, or
it's because Théodred's your leader and you need a tar pit.
Okay, yeah. There's just
you need something. You just go. You throw him at the big thing, and then Théodred just goes and does other things.
Okay, cool.
I think I'm okay with that. Either in front, probably behind Gamling, just because his role, it's nice, but It probably has less of an impact in most games than Gamling.
I was gonna put him in front of Éomer. Sorry, Éomer.
This entire episode is me fighting to keep Éomer's
No,
spot.
I'm not trying to troll. Like I
No, I know.
genuinely I would see myself taking Elfhelm first. Okay, well we have to average this out. So
Wait, did Ian get? Oh, Ian said same. Yeah.
Ian said top of Valor.
Oh, that was only in the Legion, though.
That was only in the Legion.
Yeah, I think bottom. Yeah,
Okay.
It seems like I'm the only one that would put him ahead of Gamling, so I guess it averages out here.
yeah.
Richard,
It's
you're muted.
another kind of thing where he gets pulled out of lists because there's just so many other options.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
The fight for does hurt. If there isn't a hero that you want to tar pit, the fight for can kind of suck.
Yeah.
Playing fight three armies with him is a blast, though. You
Yeah.
do whatever you want. It's great.
Fight 3 defense 5 armies, the dream.
Yeah. Yeah. It does suck when you're like charging in, calling death, and then he has a lower fight value than the Royal Guard.
Yeah.
But all right, next we have Dernhelm.
Legend.
The only Rohan hero with resistance to magic,
I yeah,
besides its separate components.
I really like this profile, although I've never used it outside of the Legion. So I don't know if any of you have experience with that, but I like profiles that have like are really cost efficient and they have like a utility and do one or two things really well. And this hits the spot. And Ian talked about it a little bit earlier, where it's a really cheap 3 attack hero. Maybe it doesn't hit that hard because it's strength 3, but it's great to throw in combo with another hero. It gives you extra dice to help win the fight. So really consistent that way.
I mean, a lot of times it's still strength 4 on the charge, but I think is she a minor or a independent
Minor.
tier minor? So I think that probably hurts a little bit. You said that you don't see her out of the Legion, but I think the issue is that like no one plays pure Rohan, right? So unless you're allying in, and then when you're allying in, it gets a bit expensive if you're gonna like if you ally a Rohan contingent, like most of the times you see like one hero, right?
Yeah.
So that just pretty much cuts out most of the heroes because then you would have to take either like Théodred, Éomer, or Théoden and then add her cost, and then I don't know, you're
I don't rate her if you're not getting that +1 strength on the charge.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Green Alliance is pure and Legion, she's great, but if you're not getting the strength 4, I don't know, unless D7 is your meta and it doesn't matter anyway. Like cracking D6 is really important for heroes to do.
She also specifically synergizes, I think Ian mentioned this before, synergizes really well with Gamling. And so taking those two together really boosts her up. But yeah, I agree. The getting up to the strength 4 is pretty crucial.
yeah, it's just really tough because Riders of Théoden is like one of the best Rohan legions. We keep on talking about this legendary legion, and she's arguably the best hero in the Legion if we're not talking about Théoden as a mandatory pick. So I don't know. That's why I said legend right away. But after what you guys like, the points that you guys raised, maybe she's Valor. I don't know.
All right. I think it's my turn to say it. I put her in front of Éomer.
Good. We don't
I'll
have
put
to
her
say
in front of Éomer too. Honestly, she deserves it. It's good. I mean, to be honest, I'd probably put her in front of Théoden as well.
Mm. I would if she wasn't a minor hero.
Yeah, well then like you guys said earlier, it's you can't ally her into like any of the green alliances without pulling another hero in, which
Yeah.
okay, that's fair.
So I don't know. I might be with Jake here, putting her in front of Theoden just because it's kind of like, are we gonna downgrade her points for not being in as many lists as Theoden? I
But
mean, we'll have to
also,
talk about it soon with like the Helm Hammerhand and Eorl profiles, right? Because those are limited into one list. So it's
Yeah.
like you see her a lot less, but she's
Mm.
probably better than Théoden, right?
I I think the buffs that he brings, I think he edges out because of that. But
yeah, I'm fine with that.
yeah, yeah.
That's that's kind of where I was at too. It's just the buffs is it's too good.
Okay, so next one we're going to be talking about is the basic Éowyn profile. So the one where you're taking her on her own.
Independent.
Yeah.
Why are
We
you gonna
haven't
take
seen
her?
this so much.
Dernhelm exists.
We haven't seen so much this edition since Dernhelm has been around.
She used to have a better place in this list before, like last edition, when she was like it was harder to get fight five in the list. Now, like your royal guards can get fight five. Most of the heroes have fight five. I think if you fully kit her out, minus the throwing spear, she's 60 points, and you might as well just take the better version that has resistance to magic and the third attack. Just go Dernhelm.
Yeah. I
That's
think
fair.
this is like a cheap way if you want to trigger Aylmer's rage. I don't know if you would trigger Aylmer's rage if Dernhelm dies before being dismounted because she doesn't turn into Éowyn, right?
There's an FAQ on that. I'm pretty sure it still triggers. I'm not 100% on that though.
Okay. I remember Ian once ran a list where he built her like a hand grenade, just threw her in so that
Yeah.
Éomer could have the +1 to wound.
That was at the start of this edition. It was trying to. It seemed like a cool idea. It wasn't that good, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
it's an
cool to try.
expensive way to get +1 in wounds.
Yeah, and well, see, the problem is because she's only got the two attacks. She's not as reliable on the charge,
Mhm.
and if she gets countercharged, she's like the strike three, and it's a hand grenade that really doesn't grenade that well.
I'm fine putting her in independent. Like, you
Yeah.
make a good point of when are you ever going to see her over Dernhelm? Like when Dernhelm exists, because literally you can't take the two of them at the same time.
I can
Yeah,
see you picking her over a captain in like a peer list. I know,
but
no, like why would you play a peer list? I get that, but if you did, there's an argument for her for the cheap striker.
I
Um,
disagree. Even in a peer list like that, you're going to drop one royal guard to get the extra 15 points to turn her into Dernhelm. Like
hmm,
I just, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And then she picks up resistance to magic along with the extra heroic stats and the extra attack. Like I I just don't see it.
I'm okay with minor, but we have 2 votes for independent. What about Richard?
Well, I was just only gonna say minor only because like it would spread it out compared to the next profile we're gonna review. But
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fair. That's
Sure.
fair.
Sure. Fine. Now you've convinced me.
Yeah, yeah, there is worse.
want to
All right. Yeah.
utilize
Sure.
every tier,
Minor.
you know?
Bell curve.
There you go.
All right. Who we have Meriadoc Brandybuck,
Hmm.
also a contender for worst hero from our worst heroes bracket. And I think for a good reason. Not the best profile as we know, being a hobbit, but he costs a whopping 25 points if you were to take him. So
He can
just
go up to 40 points.
you can go up to 40 points if you kid him
The
out.
fuck?
That's insane. For a 4-inch move, so you know you're not going to take him if you're taking a like a mostly cav list, and he brings 1 might, so he's not exactly a might battery. He's a liability for certain scenarios. Yeah, there's just not a lot that he does.
There
Just the
maybe was an argument for him to combo with Gamling after the nerf, but then there were two other profiles that were released that are about 20 to 30 points that are just better and can do the same thing.
but also Dernhelm.
And then also Dernhelm, which another bonus to Dernhelm, you actually get Meriadoc for like cheap. Like he costs less than 25 points when it comes that way.
This is the non-discounted version. This is the one when he's not
Yeah.
on sale.
What a ripoff!
It's insane. Because like, does he come with the shield on the Dernhelm?
For what it's worth, he does have a shield on um
On Dernhelm. So
Helm.
that just makes Dernhelm even better.
Yeah.
Even more discounted. The only reason I could ever think, besides Steam, to take him like this is if you're playing in a meta that just has an outrageous amount of nature's wraths and the points value is super low and you want to squeeze into resistance to magic. That's the only justification I could come up besides theme.
So
It's a
you're
great
treating
theme
him
piece.
as like you're purchasing a heroic resolve
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
sorts.
sorry. It's a resistance to magic that's actually incredibly hard to maneuver because he only moves 4. It's not even a good argument. It's a horrible argument.
Yeah. And
But
Dernhelm
just
has resolve.
I know. That's why it's got to be like a 200-point game, and you really need it.
just look at like the power of friendship. You have a minor and an independent hero, and together they make one valor hero.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go back in time a little bit and talk about Helm Hammerhand next. Very popular legion.
The people wanted a big Rohan hero for a long time, and they finally got it.
With
Still
fight
mad he's
five.
only fight 5. Stay mad. It's fine.
I mean, yeah, the like I think the argument is they're like a kind of a backwater-ish type nation, so that martial prowess has never reached the peaks of Gondor, something like
Yeah.
that.
He's got pretty much everything except for the fight value. So you have the mighty hero, free might of turn, you get free hero combats, your burly strength 5, and you also buff your army by giving them fight 5 and 6 inches around you, and also you have a war horn.
The mighty hero and the free hero combats, those are both Legion bonuses, right?
We're assuming that you're never going to play him outside the Legion because they're not attached to his profile. I don't understand why that is, but
Well, I
he
was thinking I was like, oh
yeah.
wow, if you take him in pure Rohan on the charge, he's strength 6 with burly two-handed.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. But you're losing two massive
Yeah,
rules.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's you only take him in the card. I cannot think of another reason unless you no, you're impossible allies with everything that's in the profile, and you can't
Yeah.
include any other named heroes.
Yeah.
So unless you want to do some weird impossible alliance, but I think there's better things than that. Yeah, than taking him.
Yeah. So obviously, like when we're talking about the profile itself, like he's really, really good with the Legion bonuses. The limiting factor for that Legion is always because of the options, right? That's why it doesn't scale to higher points. If he had a few like, named heroes in that list, then it would definitely be, constantly run at 800 points. So I think if we're just talking about him in general, though, I think he's really, really solid. Probably one of the better heroes in this tier list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His fight 5 weakness though does make his free hero combat bonus worse because I find a lot of times he's striking up to make sure he doesn't lose the fight. Certain armies you're going to be facing minimum fight 5. Like a
yeah.
lot of the armies going around these days, like Bjornings and Easterlings and stuff like that, like you're going to be striking up against warriors a lot of the times, and you're not going to be using the free hero combat. So
That is like the shitty part, but he does bring like really good hitting power because of the strength 5 base and the burly 2-hand. Like
yeah,
even if he gets countercharged, if he's just fighting troops, he'll have like he can still kill a couple guys a turn easily. I don't know how you guys have seen this run. The way I've seen it typically run is at like 400 or 500 points. You take him and captain and just a bunch of royal guard on foot with throwing spears. You just have this little fight 5 bubble that just destroys you with throwing weapons, and then Helm just runs in, and just smashes an entire flank by himself.
yeah, yeah,
It's also a
Um,
stressful region to play because you want him to be like in the thick of it, surrounded by enemies, but also if he fluffs a roll, he's the centerpiece of the army, and without him, the entire thing
yeah.
crumbles.
That's more of a criticism on of the Legion though, not as much as for the profile. But I agree with that weakness being like a weakness of the Legion. I think he definitely goes in Valor, but I don't know
yeah.
where.
I he does have heroic defense. He's got really good actions.
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, besides March, but like you're gonna bring a captain anyway if you just the first pick in the Legion. So
I think I might put him above Théoden here.
I would honestly put him either below Théodred in Legend or above Théoden in Valor.
Yeah, I'm in the same spot. I just don't know which tier.
Okay.
It's tough because at like sub 600, maybe sub 550, he's easy Legend, and then above
Yeah.
that, he's
I,
probably Valor.
But
I was gonna say the same thing. I think I just put him up in legend because like you're probably not gonna try and play the list competitively at a points value above, like you said, 600. So it
That's
I was gonna put him here. So
Ooh.
we have two votes for Legend, one for Top of Valor.
I'm okay with like bottom of legend here. Having played this list before, I agree with Ian, like 600, 650 below. Like it is legitimately like competitive. Like
I,
because even for fight five armies, okay, aside from like the Dragon Emperor, like if you're not fighting like a horde fight five army, you don't really mind striking up and just killing two to three models a turn consistently. He's just such a
Mhm.
force to deal with at that points level. It's either like fight five, fight six warriors, or like magic. Everything else he's just gonna run straight through.
I think that's a good spot for him. And like I'm looking at the legendary legion, and honestly, it builds very similarly to Theodred's guard, which we've all said is very good at that points level anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's yeah, I think he deserves to go up there for sure.
Okay. Next, we have our other legacy profile. We have Eorl the Young. So in our top 16 good heroes bracket, this was one of my picks, and I don't mean to bring up Éomer again, but my argument for why he's one of the top 16 good heroes in the game was in comparison to Éomer, he is tremendous value. So at 115 points, he already comes full kitted, 15, 20 points less than Éomer, and he gets everything. He gets Storing Spears, he gets Armored Horse, he gets Move 12. So obviously his downside comes to the army building side where he's forced to play either pure with no name heroes or pure with no name Minas Tirith. So very limited. And the other part is the models aren't available very often. They keep getting removed from the web store. So you don't see this army run a lot. But I do think that for the points, he's up there.
Yeah, I would tend to agree that the limitations on the heroes and what you can take, it does suck, but there is a very, very effective and valid list there when you consider the unnamed profiles you can ally in from Minas Tirith, being like the King of Men and the Knight of the White Tower, so you can get a secondary striking hero into lists with him, which is fantastic. And not to mention the Sons of Errol, which are great when they're used in conjunction with him. They hit like a truck. So I'd probably put him maybe behind Helm.
You don't get the fight five in the list. That's the downside, but you do get base to attack troops.
Yeah, but just I think the squad of mounted things you're gonna take in the list, it's gonna be a bunch of the Sons of Errol, right? And the extra attack makes up for the lack of fight value every time.
I mean, fight four, but 20 point, strength five on the charge, defense six, two attacks,
Yeah.
They
base,
can
so three on the charge.
Yeah. Strength
pierce to
six if you
strength
want to
six.
pierce.
Yeah,
Do piercing
yeah.
strike.
Gross.
I mean, should we rate the Suns while we're talking about him? Because like they're
Yeah,
so tied together.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, for sure. I think point for point, there's no question that he's near the top, but are we going to take some points off? I guess we did take a little bit of points off Helm for his limitations, right? He does have great heroics, and
Yeah.
12 move mount is like, for people that play Glorfindel, they know how valuable that is as well.
and potentially unlimited might.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's nice that I mean it's only the first time each turn that he spends a point of might, but it's on anything. It's not just heroic, like limited to a couple heroic actions, which is pretty great.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's averaging around 5 might a game probably.
yeah, yeah. I'd rate him. It's the same kind of thing as before for me. He's kind of either Valor at the top or Legend at the bottom as of right now for me.
Yeah, for me, he's either above or below. It's like bo above or below Théoden.
Mhm.
I think I would put him above Théoden, but still in Valor.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
Okay. He doesn't have the flexibility of being able to just burn his might like Helm, because if you want his legendary hero rule where he keeps getting might back, he shouldn't like spend all of them in one turn, right? So you're like kind of sparingly spending them. So he doesn't have the option to just like the burnout strategy as much.
And it goes away once he's at 0.
Right,
Like he doesn't get a free one. It
right.
just, yeah.
Okay. And then sons, where do we want to put the sons?
Right next to him. Keep the family together.
There, yeah, I feel like if you're running him, you're gonna take some sons, right? And in that list, you don't have access to fight five, so I guess the fight four is not like you're not going to take anything else instead of the Suns because of fight
Mm.
value, right? So
Like, yeah, unless you really want some bodyguard cav, yeah, I think it's you're gonna take infantry with the Ministerial section and
yeah,
just more sons.
yeah. In that list, you probably play some kind of a hammer and anvil strategy. Use
Mm.
the Ministerial as a shield wall, and then the Suns come in and flank.
Mhm.
Um,
I guess counterpoint though, the current meta is very fight value heavy. And, if Suns are charging into an Easterling pike block with 3 attacks and a banner, it's a pretty decent shot. You lose that, and then you lose your horse, and then you're sad.
yeah,
Yeah, it at that point it would all be about manipulating things so they're only fighting one at a
Yeah,
time without like spear support or two of them, but they don't have spear supports, right? So if the opponent's only throwing a couple of dice, you're just gonna out dice them.
right.
hmm yeah.
I have to play a lot more skirmishy, which is not what they do. They are like probably like the most shock cavalry in the game, like the heaviest thing in the game. I can't think of another one that would maybe work. Marauders are harder, but
I'm thinking maybe the bottom of Valor because you don't have an option to skirmish with them. They don't have bows or throwing weapons, so you're gonna only charge in and against armies that counter you, you're gonna have no choice but to fight. And they might
Yeah,
just have a few feel bad days against fight five troops.
yeah, that's a good point too. Like they have limited like utility in the sense they also have to stay beside Earl.
Mhm.
If you use them as your only cav, like you can't really or you don't really want to use them as objective takers because then they lose the extra attack. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm good with where you're putting them.
Okay, Grimbold.
If only he had a
he's
horse.
fine. I don't care. Who cares?
He
It's
doesn't have a
cool that
horse?
Rohan's forced. We already had opinions about this. We did a video about that. I'm not gonna say anything.
So besides the downside of him not being able to have a horse, the other downside is he has to go two-handed.
Honestly,
That's
I'd say that that's bigger than not having
it's
a horse.
it's big. It's big. He's a happy little might battery. If you're gonna take a bunch of Rohan infantry, I think there's a strong argument for taking him just to get them up to strength 4. If you combo him with another striking hero that can win the fight, he can put out a tremendous amount of damage. Overall, I'd say he's fine. I've had some really bad luck with him, even putting 2 Galadriel pikes behind him, and he just loses a fight and dies in one turn. It happens.
He's also only D5.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a might battery, and you like the way I play him is he's there to bring the strength 4 troops, which plays better if you're allying into something that's bringing higher fight value to put behind them. And as for like himself, he just stands there and is your might battery to call heroic moves. And if you can sneak him into a fight that needs like a hero to die, yeah, he does that really well. I had some hot dice, admittedly, but I have one shot of Mumakil in one turn with him and Théodred. So like it's the damage potential is there.
I get the same feeling when I look at his profile as taking a captain that you're forced to take a two-handed axe. It's to feel bad that you're gonna have to support him when you throw him into combat. Like he's not never gonna
Yeah.
be reliable enough to just one-on-one a model.
if he one-on-ones a model, he's not bad because he's throwing 2 dice. But yeah, you still like he's reliable at killing things because of the +1. But yeah, it's hard for him to win fights.
Counterpoint, uh, something I was thinking about the other day in the context of Numenorians is good actually doesn't have a ton of strength 4 that's easy to bring in. Like forget dwarves and the Hobbit era stuff, but like the strength 4 is actually kind of rare on the good side. So him, like I don't know if people do this. I've never tried it, but like I was just thinking him with Boromir and the banner. So you have fight 5 behind him, men, strength 4 up front. Like, eh,
Yeah, I think he should get played more. I don't
So
think he's the GOAT, but I don't think he's trash.
so
I'm
does
putting him in
that mean
fortitude.
fortitude or minor?
I will fight strongly for him to go into fortitude. Where in fortitude? I'll leave that up to you guys because I don't think I'm going to win that argument.
Well, let's also talk about Helmingas because I feel like the value of Helmingas will matter for this profile, right? Because you need him
Yeah.
in order to
So
so
it's 1 point, which is, I mean, you can't get more affordable than that.
yeah.
Base strength 4 infantry are great. Strength 4 infantry with the ability to pierce, which Rohan does because they can all take axes, is great. Like if you need to crack dwarves and you're in an infantry force, strength 5 is how you do it. And you can have it in abundance if you take a bunch of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is the opposite of the Earl situation. I think Helmingas would go above Grimbold. You take Grimbold, like Ian said, to get the Helmingas,
Yeah.
opposed to like, you get Earl first and you're like, oh, how many sons do I want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the strength 4 is nice and 1 point for one strength is fairly costed, right? I do
What
agree
you
though that they should be above Grimbold.
Yeah. Do we have a Helmingas
Yeah, we
spot
do.
on this?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
So I'm thinking of putting Grimbold. Okay, Ian can have his fortitude. I think bottom of fortitude I'm okay with. And
That's fine.
Helmingas, do you guys think it should go above fortitude?
Mm,
do top of fortitude maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
makes sense. I mean, it just looks like they're close because we don't have much in fortitude right now, but I
It's gonna
think
fill
I
up.
think there's a gap. There's a notable gap.
Okay, next we have Erkenbrand, and we'll also talk about red shields with along with it.
Erkenbrand is also fine.
Yeah, used to be amazing, and now it's like people kind of forget that he's an option.
Yeah. Uh, I think it's just because of the prevalence of the Royal Guard that you see in a lot of builds now. The +2 courage is still great, and it works on all Rohan stuff. It's awesome. It's actually really good on your heroes too, because your heroes can kind of struggle in this list with courage. He brings March, right, and he's got the fight 5 3 might. He's a little expensive. He's around the same price as what's his name, Déorwine,
Yeah.
when they're both kitted out. But I think I would rate Erkenbrand over Déorwine.
Uh,
The only reason you don't see him as much is because the most common like Legion, the way to run mounted Rohan is in the Legion, which you just take a bunch of Royal Guard, and then the extra courage is invalid.
in Riders of Éomer, you don't have royal guards, so the +2 courage is amazing.
Exactly. Then it's actually it's good. And I have messed around with trying to make like a version of a list with where I take Grimbold and Erkenbrand, and the idea is you just buff the hell out of your troops for cheap. It kind of works. The stats are a little weird, but I want to play with it more.
Yeah, I think Fortitude is a good spot for him. Like you could see the utility. It just he's only in that one legion, and also outside of the legion, the Warhorn only affects Rohan, right? So
Mhm.
it's not really gonna help that much in alliances. So
But I'm okay with Ian saying that he's above Daryl Wine. It's just he's not available in enough good lists. If he was, then he'd probably be rated above.
Yeah,
so below Déorwine?
I, I
Yeah.
I'm fine if he's below him because just like the way you build everything is like that's where he's going to end up, right?
Yeah.
You're a lot of time you're not. He just isn't a viable option because you have like the way the list's built, right?
Yeah.
You have Déorwine.
Next, we have Hàma, another profile that a lot of people forget exists. So Hàma is really similar to the Gamling profile. The difference being that he does not have March, so he only has defense,
He can
and
take a shield.
he can take his
You
shield.
actually
That's the other difference. Yeah,
the,
and he
going
doesn't have
up
the
to
banner.
defense 7 is actually kind of nice.
Defense 7 is nice. The fight 4 is not nice.
You take gambling over him.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see if you do like a warg attack themed army, you take both. And
Yeah.
you have two heroes with defense.
It, yeah, but it, gambling exists and he brings like another heroic action. Losing one pip of defense is worth having a separate guy who can march.
Yeah.
So I don't know, minor, like he's
Yeah.
just cheap might, but it's like meh.
Yeah. Not much else, right? Like I
Yeah.
guess you could use them as a
Yeah.
tar pit.
Yeah. But the thing is he's cheap might in a list that is flush with cheap might. They have so many 3 might heroes
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
but
also have the heroic actions that he has. So
just
it's like
I don't know if Grimbold is that much better though, because Grimbold like is kind of a handicap in some ways, you know?
Yeah, but Grimbold
mm,
brings the strength for the Helmingas.
Yeah, that's I
Like,
guess so.
and Hama's in zero legions.
and
Yeah.
Hàma's fight 4, Grimbold
Or
is fight
for
5.
10 more points, you get Elfhelm.
Yeah. That's the
I,
thing.
I would honestly be shocked if you looked at every tournament that's been played in the last 5 years. I would be shocked if Hama showed up more than 10 times.
I was gonna say more than once.
Well, I
At
think
least
I
locally.
heard about him being brought for like a theme type list.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in a competitive sense, yeah, zero.
I'll put him at the top of minor. I think maybe Grimbold, we can argue, has a slight edge because of the Helmingas utility. Next, we have Hama's son, Haleth.
Much better
Great
than his
sword.
dad.
Yeah.
This is a good profile.
So most of the time seen in Defenders of Helm's Deep, he buffs the troops around him and also buffs Aragorn.
It's +1 fight.
Yeah.
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 He also
He,
gains an attack when Aragorn
yeah.
is in the list.
But he has to be fighting, right?
He
Oh,
has to
that's
Yes.
be
right.
in
It's part of the
combat,
fight
Yeah.
phase.
and
Okay.
it ends as soon as he dies.
He does
So
have
Yeah.
defense
it can
though.
cut it. Yes. It's and 2 wounds. This is another weird profile where I know we said Tarpits before, but like a 30 points, you can actually stick him into a big hero for 1 turn. And he's got a pretty good chance of living because he can heroic defense and he's got 2 wounds, 2 fate. So he can actually stop a lot of big heroes and not die, which is incredible considering he's got a really shitty sword.
The question is, would you ever see him outside the Legion?
I think he's cheap enough that you can consider bringing him. I don't know. I mean, I know like uh pure Rohan with foot contingent is not a thing, but if it was,
The +1 fight is nice, but you
Uh,
have elves in the list. So how important is it for your Rohan to hit that fight 5?
it's for Aragorn. It's not for Rohan.
Yeah.
It's for Aragorn.
So maybe it's not as significant of a buff than it looks on
Yeah.
paper.
But it's not a huge thing for the Rohan because you have the Royal Guard go to fight 5 or your basic dudes go to fight 4. Who cares? You have the elves. It's pretty much just for Aragorn. The fact that Haleth actually goes up to 2 attacks when he's close to Aragorn, like they synergize really well together. And you can do some things because he's so cheap and he's only got the 1 might anyway. If you have Gamling nearby, right, you can use him to call a heroic move. You get the might back. You can put him on a flank, try to like set up a little heroic combat to launch some guys around the back,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna regen the might anyway. So he's sneaky. I do rate him because of that. It's not necessarily the fight value thing. Getting Aragorn up to fight 7 is actually just like a really nice defensive thing for Aragorn because he has to be on foot in the Legion, right?
Yeah.
On foot, fight 6. It's okay. When he's fight 7, it's harder for other heroes to try and like combat into him and bully him.
Is Aragorn worth it in the Legion?
If you have Haleth,
But he doesn't have
No,
Enderroll, so he can't kill shit.
yeah, it's not.
he's not worth it normally on foot, but
There's an argument in the Legion to do that build. I've tried it. It's okay. I think what the people on the internet say is right, and you'd rather just take Legolas and Gimli.
okay, back to Haleth. I think I would rate him around the same, maybe a little below Déorwine. You guys agree with that?
Yeah,
Sure.
around where Erkenbrand is like
He kind of like
nothing.
does one thing, right? Or one and a half things.
Yeah.
And
Jake doesn't seem convinced.
I haven't really played with or against him that much, so I can't really comment. I would probably put him below Grimbold's based off of the discussion we just had, which is if his whole thing is making Aragorn better, and then we just said Aragorn's
Yeah.
not actually that useful to have in the army,
yeah.
then I'm like, well, what's the point of him?
Yeah.
That's kind of what
Never
I was
mind.
thinking, but
Yeah.
again,
I mean,
I
he's okay on his own too for the points, like just
yeah.
stat wise, right? He has a bow and
Yeah.
his profile isn't that bad, but
yeah, it's fair.
yeah.
The Courage 5 is nice. Like if you want to like throw a cheap hero back on an objective to like stand fast.
Yeah.
Right. He's got some utilities, but yeah, yeah, maybe he's either one above or one below Grimbold. I think I don't care which one.
Yeah, I don't care which one.
We
Yeah, I
also
think that's
forgot to
good.
talk about red shields.
So red shields basically you pay 1 point for them to treat Erkenbrand as a banner. So obviously you're gonna have to you're only gonna be taking a few because only a certain amount of bases can fit around Erkenbrand. I don't value them that much. You're probably gonna have a banner in the list. This is kind of just giving them one more, essentially one more dice on the duel, right?
Yeah. I I rate it as an upgrade just because you're probably not going to have more than one banner in the list. Like usually you don't, and you're not going to pay 25 points for like to have all these guys have the upgrade. 1 point to get the reroll, I think, is great. Upgrade all the guys in Erkenbrand's Warband who can take it. Leave it at that. Like it's handy, especially if you're hitting a flank with that. It actually makes them much more reliable, and it's a good way to sneak an extra reroll into the fight with Erkenbrand.
Rohan doesn't have anything other than 3-inch banners. Everything's on big bases. It's kind
Yeah.
of hard to get banner coverage. If you're going to take Erkenbrand, having red shields is nice, but you're not going to take Erkenbrand for the red shields.
Yeah, yeah,
It's more of a buff to Erkenbrand.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm
Maybe
okay
just right
with
next to
right
him.
behind. Yeah, right
Man,
behind Erkenbrand.
Okay. Next we have the old man, Aldor, who fires the first arrow.
the best meme potential.
He is a legend for shooting that first arrow. Whether it's good in the game, I think he's just more of a fun profile, honestly. You can argue that being a one might hero, he synergizes with Gamling, but Haleth does that. And I think you take Haleth first, right?
You take him, you put him in Gamling's warband, and then you ally Gamling into a list that is spamming Blackroot Vale archers. And he just calls heroic shoots every turn. Or
Have you
heroic accuracies if you want.
wait, have you done
Meme it
that?
up. Let's go. Maximize the memes.
Oh, for shits and giggles.
And it's a green alliance too, so you can just out throw those two, and that's pretty solid.
It's
Like,
good when you're playing like a not too serious game with a friend and just kind of make bets on whether he's going to kill something the first turn.
so my experience with this is it's been a while since I've run him. I think I maybe played 3 or 4 games with him. Every time in the first turn, he'd get one kill and then he'd do nothing the rest of the game. Like I'd burn the might to do it, and then he'd just do nothing. It was perfect.
Yeah.
It's magnificent. Honestly, 20 points, bringing one might, one will, one fate, and he's got like an extra like courage 4. Yeah, he's fine. He can meme him with gambling. You can go sit him on an objective, and he can do whatever.
He has accuracy. So if you're bringing gambling anyways,
Mhm.
that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah. You can do some silly things with him. He's still a meme though. Like, yeah, he hits on a 5, but with the reroll to hit, I think it's I somebody did the odds on this a while. I don't remember exactly what it is. I think it's somewhere between like a 3
It's
plus and a 4 plus to hit. It's kind of like
about
halfway between.
55%. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not bad. And then the reroll the wound is actually like really good.
I don't know. It feels like he's just there to make your game more cinematic. I
Oh, it's still totally a meme. Like I'd put him in minor, but above Hàma because
Yeah,
like
that's where I was thinking. You're not throwing away your points like a three in the broken or something like that, but
yeah,
he's just like a wild card, right?
yeah,
He's not guaranteed going to make his points back every game, but
Well, he is a detriment in like fog of war assassination, right?
yeah,
But
I'd be okay with
yeah.
top of minor.
yeah,
Okay. So now we have the generic unnamed heroes. We have the Captain Rohan.
actually, probably one of the better captains.
Yeah.
Piercing strike plus the Rohan bonus on horse, like you're getting strength 6.
They also synergize with Théoden's fight value bonus.
Yeah. Well, a few really cool foot models.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't synergize with Helm's fight buff bonus. Otherwise, the Legion would be significantly better, I think. Not many of the named heroes in this list actually have axes, so the piercing strike is actually worth mentioning. They can crack some high defense in your list if you want to take a few. The March isn't very valuable though, because there's so much March in the list. That's why you don't see them very often, even though they are a pretty decent profile.
The fact that you see them at all, given how many named heroes there are in the list, is actually kind of incredible. I think
Yeah.
I happen to know some people rate two captains over Éomer in the Legion. I'm not one of those people, but yeah, some people definitely prefer that. And then there's obviously like the Helm Legion and Théodred's Guard where you might see them as well.
Yeah.
They definitely have a spot in the legions. In a pure list, I don't really see a point that much, but yeah, in the legions, there's good arguments for them.
I think I'm okay with like maybe top of fortitude here.
Yeah.
I'd put him below Déorwine.
I would put him exactly in the middle of fortitude.
Hmm.
Above Erkenbrand or below?
I think
Maybe
it should
below
go above
Erkenbrand.
Erkenbrand. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that works
Erkenbrand
for me.
feels more niche.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the final hero profile. It is the King's Huntsman.
Meme.
Another contender in our
It's
worst heroes bracket.
yeah. Just take Aldor instead. He's 30 points cheaper. I know there are some communities that really rate this guy. I maybe I gotta try playing with this thing again. It just never works. It's just yeah.
The
I
argument for him is the rule where he can pass in the way on a 2+. So if you're able to hit your target, you can burn all your might to kill the hero or monster and then get your might back.
Yeah.
How often that happens is another question.
I if it was amended that he could shoot into combat, it'd be fine. The
Yeah.
problem is he's on foot and
Fight
like
three.
he's fight 3. He's gonna get like most of the time 2 or maybe 3 chances to try and like shoot at something, and then he's relegated for like the rest of the game. This is maybe one model actually where I would fully support if you put him up at like the top of like the tallest terrain piece in the game, like on your board. Do that because then you can actually have an impact past like the second turn when the combat happens.
Although with the recent FAQ, I don't know if you're allowed to do that anymore.
Place models in terrain.
Place model in areas where your opponent
Oh, where
cannot
you
reach
can't
you.
climb.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It
Well,
limits your
yeah,
options.
yeah.
um I'd like really want to make him work. Uh
Two.
yeah. But like you said, the not being able to shoot into combat. For what it's worth, in the legions where you're restricted on heroes you can take, like Helms, like you need that one captain for March. But after that, if you're kind of just paying for might anyways,
Yeah. The problem with that is you just take a second captain And then after that, you're not going to play Helmsguard because you're getting the points too high.
Even that second captain is a stretch.
Yeah. Yeah. That's maybe at 600. So I agree. I also really want to make him work. If they gave him the change that he could shoot into combat and he was 10 to 15 points cheaper, then I think we're talking.
Okay, here's my argument for why he should be above Aldor is he's a better horse sniper. I don't know if there was a FAQ saying that you could do his reroll on top of the horse.
Yeah, you can specifically target horses.
Oh, you can?
You can
Yeah.
target the horse. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
So
right.
he gets his 2+ in the way
To
to
get the
target the
horse.
horse.
Yeah.
Yes. So on a 1, he hits the rider.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So only him and Legolas can target mounts.
Yeah.
But
Or like
is it,
the Watcher or something, but yes.
yeah.
Um,
But like, is it worth 50 points to have a couple shots at mounts?
no, probably
I
not. But
like, I don't think
I'm just
so.
saying that's why he's above Aldor though.
He's double the points of Aldor.
Yeah. He's more than double.
Ah,
He's 2.5.
you know, I'm sitting at him before or after Éowyn. I think
Yeah.
I see myself taking Hàma before I take him. Like
You guys are hard.
Uh,
I'm fighting hard for top of minor here, so we'll leave this up to Jake.
Oh
All
shoot.
right. Richard, we put him below Aldor and above Hàma. I'm not going any more than that.
final offer.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, that seems fair.
I just like the picking the horse thing, it's a valid argument. You're playing an army list that's gonna have like 20 throwing spears or like 30 bow shots. If you want to pick the horse, you got enough stuff you can throw it at to pick the horse. Or you'll have Elfhelm. Like it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, he's a minor hero, so he's going to limit your warbands if you're taking him in your
Yeah.
list.
I agree with what you said, Jake. It's a really cool profile. I also want to make it work. I've never come up with a way to make it happen.
If he was 40 points, I would be fighting for him to be in fortitude, probably. But
It's
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I think 35 points with the profile it has now. Now it's actually
good.
worth it's in the conversation.
Oh yeah.
That would
But
be
50
insane.
Yeah.
You do like a list with 6 of them, and
Yeah.
you would just be generating tons of might.
Yeah, I
I would
wonder
hope.
if the point costed this profile based on the original Gamling banner, right? And then they didn't account that with the nerf.
Yeah. We're on to the warriors now. So let's start off with your basic warrior of Rohan.
So I said this, I think, like an hour and a half ago. But I quite rate this profile. And the reason is I think I'm like, you know how everybody rates orcs on the evil side? This is the good side equivalent.
Yeah.
They're really cheap infantry. They can take axes, which is great. If you want to get to the strength 4, because like we said earlier, strength 4 is pretty rare on the good side. D5 is a sweet spot. Fight 3 is fine. Courage 3 is fine.
Yeah.
And then the throwing weapon, like front line, is nasty. Like that's something worth allying in.
Yeah. If you get them in numbers, or if you're taking them in one of the legions where you can take them on foot and you get 20 to 30 of them, this because they're 8-inch range, the skirmish potential is pretty nasty.
I think the things that aren't optimal about them is compared to orcs, you're paying for the courage, right? So you can argue that courage 3 is solid, but you have a bodyguard in the list. So, and you have Warhorn if you take a couple of the specific heroes. And then also, if you're playing outside the Legion, you probably don't see these guys very often, just because you don't have spear support. So maybe in like a allied list you'll see them, but you're not going to see like mostly them. You're not going to see them like spammed out.
No, like yeah, the allied version, but that's really strong. Like we joke about it, but Ian's like Lothlorien Rohan is nasty. You're backed up by elves, so you get to fight 5, and then you get throwing weapons in the front and piercing strike. Yeah.
Yeah. The bowman option of the profile is kind of outshadowed by taking out riders on foot. So
Yeah.
you probably don't see those, but Yeah, other than
I
that, they're pretty solid.
I've heard an argument a while. This is a while ago when the Defenders Legion first came out. Is that you take the elves for the spears, and then you take the warriors of Rohan with bows because they're super cheap, and you maximize the numbers. I don't know if that's the way to build it, or maybe no, you just don't take any elves. I'm not sure that's the way to do it, but that's the argument I've heard. Other than that, yeah, I'd always just take the Outwalkers for
You
one
mean in
extra point.
Defenders of Helm's Deep?
Yes, Defenders of Helm's Deep, but otherwise, you'd always just take the Outwalkers. Like and you get them in Théodred's Legion and Helm's Legion. So those are the two of the big other ones where you run a lot of foot infantry on Rohan.
Where are you guys thinking of this profile?
No joke, above Éomer. Like right above.
Well, yeah, somewhere up there. Wait, where is Éomer? Is there? Yeah, that's about the center of that. Yeah, I'm good with that center of valor.
As much as we've like trashed or joked about Éomer this episode, like look at how high he is.
Well, part of that was my diligent work, though.
Jake, if you weren't here, he would be like,
I know you would.
Yeah, yeah. I do
Uh,
appreciate how everything's become either it's above Éomer or below Éomer. That's the only metric that matters.
hmm I'm just kind of reflecting on this. It's so hard. I have a new appreciation for how hard it is to like actually compare heroes versus warriors in these tier lists. Yeah, I'm fine with this.
yeah.
It's a good profile.
Okay, so we have the Rider of Rohan now.
This one, I would say, does not go above Éomer. So yeah, I mean, my perspective on the Rider of Rohan is, for 1 point more, I'd just rather have a Royal Guard.
Yeah. That's a common opinion, and I've held that opinion before. When I ran the Legion, I also took only Royal Guard. But there are certain situations I think I would still take the Riders. So if you're playing a skirmishy style, most of the time that's going to be outside the Legion. I think you'll want some Riders. And if you don't have Fight 5, if you don't have a hero that buffs your Royal Guard to Fight 5, you also might want to take some Riders.
Just out of curiosity, have any of you guys played a skirmishy Rohan with Riders of Rohan that actually like worked in a tournament?
It's the
I've heard,
Éomer Legendary Legion.
yeah. I said that worked in a tournament.
Well, the closest is like me playing you at that tournament in Portland. That was
Yeah.
probably the closest.
Yeah, and like what I've basically learned is that I would much rather skirmish with throwing spears because with the bows at strength 2, hitting on fives, most of the time you're hitting on fives, wounding on sixes. And what I found is the problem is you can't actually skirmish for that long because in a tournament you have a timed game and you got to get stuff done. Like you got to kill guys, get objectives, break the enemy, get off the board, whatever. You just really don't actually have that many opportunities to just kite around and shoot. That's my perspective. I also know that personally I struggle with a play style of like, let me sit back and shoot and then claim objectives right at the end. Like I'm not that good at that.
I think the all the riders having bows is not so much for like the actual firepower, actual kills you're getting. It's more having them on the models when your opponent deploys at the start of the game. They know
Mm.
that they're going to have to be the ones to march forward, and it sets you up to fight and skirmish and harass with your throwing spears, kind of on more on your side of the table, just because you have those bows, and they know that if they don't move forward, you can just potentially sit there all game and shoot at them.
Yeah.
So I
And
know they're
they
only
are,
strength 2 bows hitting on fours. It's not great shooting, but you
but
have them.
yeah, and they're easy to spam out, right? There's multiple ways you can use these guys to break your bow limit. If you just take a bunch of them, then yeah, you get a bunch of bows. Or if you run like the way that I've run with like the Lothorian list, where you take like a maximum contingent of Outriders on foot, and then you sprinkle in 3 or 4 of these guys, suddenly your bow limit's almost at 50%.
Mm. Yeah.
Right. And just the utility is great too, like being able to get up to strength 5 on the charge. when they pierce. Just sprinkling that in to add damage is good. It's not the biggest thing because all your heroes are hitting strength 5 on the charge and they can do a lot of damage that way, but it's nice to have the option. I definitely agree. Like you usually don't take them en masse, but I think maybe in some of the legions you take them 50%, or I mean in the Éomer one you have to just take them. There are different builds there.
I'll agree
Below,
with Jake that it's below Éomer, but
I mean, I'd probably go either top of Fortitude or bottom of Valor. Like comparing them to a Son of Arrow,
Mhm.
much rather have that beefcake.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe below Suns. That's kind of where I was. You look hesitant there, Charles.
Yeah, because I play these guys for so long, but then I have to remind myself it was before the Legions, before this edition.
It's also, if terror walls come up every now and then, and there's a massive difference between if you have Harbinger into a terror wall, like Courage 2 charging in when charging is so important versus Bodyguard charging in. Like that's the delta between that is giant.
I know you're sad about this, Charles, but let me just rub some salt in the wound here. If anything, I would think they're more of a fortitude because, the next two profiles that we're going to talk about, I feel like sandwiches their like niche. So then it's like, if you want melee oriented, you take the next one. If you want shooty, you take, the one after that we're going to talk about. The only like advantage here is that they don't count as bow limit, which is okay, I guess, of a rule.
Yeah.
Well, and
No
the strength
response.
5. Don't negate the strength 5 on the charge. Like the Royal Guard can't hit that
You
5
guys all
strong
make
better,
great
but
points.
I mean, literally nobody in this call more than me wants Riders of Éomer to be a thing. It isn't. I was very disappointed when I saw that Legion
there's such an easy fix for it too.
giving them the fight bonus to
Yeah.
Éomer. Yeah.
Like it's like, so easy. FAQ, please.
Was Éomer in Warren Rohan and Théodred's guard was in Warren Rohan?
Yeah. Yeah.
They had it. It was literally right there. All they needed to do was copy paste and change a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of that for me is like I just want to see Gandalf the White actually be
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Next, we have the Rohan Rule Guard. So we've actually talked about this profile several times already.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it's just seen as like a replacement for the Rise of Rohan, like better in pretty much every wave.
Yep. Best profile in the army.
Yeah, you get the defense 6, you get the bodyguard, and they only pay 5 points for their horses, which a lot of profiles you're paying 6 or more. So
Yeah. Like with the bonus near Théoden and the army bonus, they're incredible. Even
Helm too.
without that, yeah, or with Helm, yeah. Well, yeah, because he still gives them the fight 5. Yeah, even without that, they're a good profile. I'm fond of taking a group of them on foot when I run my foot versions of the list, and they still do good things, right? And like important things for the list. So I'm not sure I necessarily agreed with you, Richard, when you first said that, but yeah, they might actually be like the best profile in the list.
Uh, I wouldn't put them up there. I mean, like
I
the foot version is actually it's like pretty expensive with the throwing spears. It's 12 points.
Well, no, because if you don't take the throwing spears, it's 10 with a shield already.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
I
Six.
they get
I guess
expensive because of the throwing spears, but
if
then
you
you
if
take
you
that on mass.
if you compare to them to like Fountain Court, yeah,
Hmm.
the Rogard doesn't have a spear, so I guess they're probably not as like well pointed as a Fountain Court.
But
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's like it's the same profile though,
I mean,
except
we haven't done the Gondor tier list, but
you can.
Fountain Court would probably be legend too. I don't
Yeah.
know, in my books.
But yeah, I'd put them up. Yeah, they'd go up there too. Like
Yeah.
I can't think of a list where you don't take at least I don't know 6 of these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like you basically take as many as you own.
Okay, fair.
It's
Yeah. Yeah, even if you don't get the fight 5 buff, I still think they're solid.
Yeah.
Where were you thinking originally, Jake?
I wasn't really sure. I could put him anywhere in Legend, maybe at the back, but I like that's not a strong opinion. I could go wherever anybody else wants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess it is kind of tough, like ranking them against like the two heroes up there. But I guess the way I see it a lot of times when it comes to warriors is like the versatility. Like Ian said, you're gonna bring them in pretty much all the Rohan lists and legions, and there's a lot of very, very viable and competitive options that you just basically spam them out. That's I don't know, that's kind of the definition of legend for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, they fill that courage role, like you said earlier, Jake. Like most of the other units that you have are courage 3 based, then they're only getting buffs from war horns or if you ally things in, right? These are the answer to that.
Yeah. Yeah, 15 points if you don't take the throwing spear. 15 points on horse. That's pretty amazing.
That is really good.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the final profile. It is the Rohan Outrider.
I would also put these up in legend.
Oh,
Ooh,
that's spicy.
spicy.
But I'm a fanboy. I am a fanboy of these guys.
So they shoot better than regular Rohan, hitting on 3s, and they have a rule which allows them to use a hero stand fast regardless of range.
Yeah. They just they're kind of like a worse ranger of Gondor, but they can also just sit on an objective way better than rangers can. Okay, maybe they don't go up in legend, but I'd still put them pretty high.
Having the assurance, like after you break, that your model won't run away is huge. You're not questioning yourself putting 3, 4 models on an objective just in case like a couple of them run. You just need that one model.
Yeah. It also just says hero. It doesn't specify Rohan hero. So if you put them in an alliance, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, I would put them up in Valor. The reason I wouldn't put them in Legend is you might spam them for the shooting, but you don't spam them like you spam Rangers of Gondor because they don't always also contribute the fight value buff.
Yeah. Yeah. So they
And
don't have the spear either. So
yeah,
it's just kind of same as like Blackroot Vale archers where they're like fight 3, except Blackroot Vale, at least you can spear support, right? These guys don't have them either. So you don't really spam them, or you should.
Oh, I spam them. And guess
Well,
what they do when they're done shooting? They go in the front line and they die so everything else can live. And they do such a good job.
so are you
Or they
saying you
sit
would
on
put them in
objectives.
Legend?
I mean, I really like them as well, but
I want to, but maybe not.
I think their rule is more like a half bodyguard, right? Because if you do lose priority in those like after you break and your heroes get charged, then essentially you don't get that rule for that turn.
Yeah.
So it's
But it's not tied to a hero either, like one specific hero.
yeah, but a lot of the times like in those like scrappy games, like all your heroes are likely going to get tied up, right? If the opponent knows what they're doing, so you don't really get much standfasts. I don't know. It's
So
Guys, let me know if this is a hot take, but I would put them right above the Rohan Warrior.
I think I'm kind of okay with that.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
I guess.
I'd maybe put them right below the Rohan Warrior because I rate combat higher than shooting.
Ooh, that's a good point.
You're
I mean,
talking to Ian, the Max Bows, Michael on long
Yeah.
shots.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
aware.
well,
That's the
so
best. Oh,
the thing is for me, like they go hand in hand with each other, right? Like I grab 2 Warriors of Rohan and then I'm grabbing an Outrider, right? Like that's the bow slot whenever I'm writing a Rohan list. I think yeah, they're interchangeable. It's literally like I take an Outrider instead of a Warrior Rohan with bow.
I'm okay with putting them right below just because I think the versatility of
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
Rohan Warrior.
yeah. I'm good with
I
that.
agree with that.
The throwing spears and like the ability to get to pierce to strength 4, strength 5 is probably a little bit better. But yeah.
So that has been our tier list. Thank you, Jake, for coming on as a guest and helping us break down Rohan. Thank you all for watching and look forward to the next episode of Into the West podcast.